Peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. You can change the world with your love. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. You can change the world with your love. Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Nancy Hershatter. I'm a member of the Sunday Services Committee. I've been a member of UUCD since 2009. Welcome to this virtual service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. We are so glad that each of you are able to join us this morning. And together in community, we can ensure that social distancing does not mean social disengagement. Our weekly services are more than just a gathering of our physical bodies. It's the forming of a sacred time that we make together. Whether you are well versed in the technology of teleconferencing or this is your first venture, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, whatever your theological stance, whatever your heritage, whomever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. You can learn more about us on our website and our Facebook page. And we encourage you to share our Facebook page and reach out to others who may be isolated at this time and who might benefit from the spiritual connection that's typically available by walking through our open doors on Sunday morning. Again, welcome to the UU Congregation of Danbury, where we welcome all in a spirit of compassion, inquiry, and service. We hope you'll join us after the service for our post-service breakout groups. If there's someone in your breakout group whom you don't know, please use this opportunity to get to know each other better. After about 15 minutes, we'll come back together as a whole group to share any highlights from your check-ins and then close our morning together. Young adults of UUCD, join us in conversation, spirituality, and social action every Sunday at noon in the UUCD Zoom room, noon in the Zoom room. Designed for ages 18 to 25, but all are welcome. Please contact Sequoia Lowe, and his email address will be on the screen for more information. The deadline for the November comment is Friday, October the 18th. Please submit your articles to officemanager@uudanbury.org by 9 a.m. for inclusion. That's 9 a.m. on Friday, the 16th of October. Sorry, this is very small print. So let's continue our Friday fun with upcoming events. A Zoom play reading on October 23rd, directed by our very own Tony DeFabio. And another installation of Open Mic Halloween Edition on October 30th. These are a lot of fun, and everyone is welcome to share a poem, a song, comedy routine, open to all. On October the 30th, costumes, candy, and spooky music are encouraged. Those are our announcements for this morning. Thanks for listening.
Good morning, everyone. It is good to be with you this morning. We will be drawing upon the beautiful UU the Vote October 2020 service components, a bunch this morning, to give you a chance to experience a range of UU voices and leaders, and in this crucial month to be connected to our larger denominational get out the vote efforts in every way that you are able. So enjoy these guest voices joining us this morning from compiled and organized by the UU the Vote team. It is also National Coming Out Day today, a day that since 1988 has been celebrated by the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community as a time to name our identities publicly and proudly, revealing and reminding the majority culture that we are here among you. We were always already in your lives, and that we all must work together to confront homophobia and transphobia. And tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, which focuses at least my thoughts for our service this morning. All those of us zooming in from somewhere in Connecticut or Eastern New York, we are on land inhabited once and still by Pokanook, Paugussett, Quinnipiac, and Wappinger Indigenous peoples, among others. Honoring their impact and their continued presence here is crucial. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and soak in this beautiful poem by Muskogee Indigenous American poet Joy Harjo. Eagle poem. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this. And breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. Join me now in bringing a chalice or a candle near to you. Kindle this light that we share and that symbolizes the enduring strength and challenge of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Take a moment to light your chalice and then join me in our chalice lighting words. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life.
As we light this chalice today, let us not be fooled by the smallness of the flame. There is heat to the small flame that burns and stings like our movements for justice. Through this small flame, we hear the roar of our Black, Indigenous, and ancestors of color. Yet, when we are not responsible keepers of this flame, places sacred to us and loved ones can be harmed. There is warmth to this flame that roots us in our community through all seasons. Let us remember that as we light this flame, may it not light just the flame of truth within our hearts, but may it light that prophetic fire that moves us to bold action this season and beyond. May it be so. Now is the time for worship. When skies turn orange and apocalyptic red, now is the time for worship. When children and adults are in cages, now is the time for worship. When uprisings demand our action and justice is needed, now is the time for worship. Time to take care of our souls and our healing in community. Now is the time for worship. Let us mobilize our spirits. Now is the time for worship. Bring your prophetic grief. Bring your holy rage as we move into this sacred hour. Now is the time for worship. Let the bells toll from steeples and the calls to prayer echo from minarets. Now is the time for worship. Let us gather, friends.
It is good to be together. I want to invite any children who are in the room but not at the screen to come on over so that you can see the Reverend Heather's story when she tells that. And also I want to let you know that today we are starting up a practice that we are going to have weekly. And that is during coffee hour, when the adults go into breakout rooms, you are invited to click on the link that was sent to your parents by email this morning and come into a Zoom room for children and youth. We'll meet together for 15 or 20 minutes. We'll have a spiritual practice time together, and then we will share joys and sorrows. So I'm looking forward to seeing many of you this morning at our Zoom room coffee hour sharing circle. And I also just want to make sure that all of you got the message that the drive-through birthday party is canceled for now. I want to invite you now to join with me in the words of children's affirmation. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands.
Thank you, Sierra Marie. The story this morning I'm excited to share with you is another beautiful book, one that only came to my awareness as I was searching through the library catalog. As I go through, note who you haven't heard of and consider spending some time finding out more about that person or people in the days ahead. This is Go Show the World, a celebration of Indigenous heroes by Wab Canoe, pictures by Joe Morse. There's a power in these lands, one that's been here many years, strong enough to make you stand and forget all of your fears. It started in the past with a blast of light and thunder. Ancient ones looked up and beheld the sky with wonder. Under starry nights west, Sacagawea led Lewis and Clark so America could spread. Plus, she healed them when they were almost dead. The men got the credit, but should she have instead? Before he made the big leagues or won Olympic gold, little Jim Thorpe ran all the time, I'm told. His twin died at boarding school, leaving Jim alone. All he knew to do was run, so he ran the whole way home. Finally, his dad said, "Jim, don't run away. No matter how far you run, brother's gone to stay." It might be tough now, but you will be something. Before you leave, my son, I want to tell you one thing. You're a person who matters. Yes, it's true. Now go show the world what a person who matters can do. Sue LaFlèche Picotte pushed doors till they let her in. They may have called her too dark or even too feminine, but she kept working hard even as they mocked her, till she earned a name that stuck. Now they call her Doctor. In a foster home, Beatrice's heart reigned free, wrote a book about her life and called it April Rain Tree. You need to stand strong, be Pegamagabo, who fought for freedom abroad and right here at home. When you feel tired, remember Tiwauzi Clear. She walked a sad trail, but shed no tear, carried sweat rocks the whole way so culture could live. When they asked her why she did what she did, she simply said, "You are people who matter." Yes, it's true. Now go show the world what people who matter can do. These a few of my heroes, maybe now you're heroes too. Let's look ahead at our lives. Think of what we want to do. Maybe be a doctor or movie star, it might happen. Maybe we do both, like our friend Evan Adams. We're like John Harrington, in space, no wait, Mars. We're like Carrie Price standing tall against a charge. Like Winnie Corn Miller, hurt but keep right on. Become captain of our country, our spirits too strong. Tecumseh said, perfect your life, make it serve the people. Crazy Horse lived free, his spirit like an eagle. Netnoqua was a woman, like most a true warrior, strong and independent, fierce as any man before her. Remember, always do right. Try to be positive. If you ever do wrong, make it up and please forgive. All paths are open to you. The brave, you take a stand. Wherever you go, these words echo through the land. We are people who matter. Yes, it's true. Now let's show the world what people who matter can do. And then in the back of this book, in addition to a thoughtful author's note, there are biographies of each of the people mentioned in here, which is one wonderful place to start in talking with your family or extended family or people of all ages in your life about the many wonderful figures there are to know more about. And now we'll move towards shared milestones. Amidst the heartache, uncertainty, hyperbole, and deep pain of this present moment in our country, we also experience all our own individual joys and sorrows. Now is the time for sharing in the chat those personal milestones that are lifting up your spirit or weighing it down today.
this moment, wrapped in love's truth. Hallelujah. My praise is due. 'Twas grace and mercy. 'Twas grace and mercy. 'Twas grace and mercy brought me
In all of the major religious traditions, people have marked time in seasons. The Jewish High Holy Days, the Muslim period of Ramadan, earth-based celebrations of solstice and equinox. Each of these seasons, in its own right and in its own way, helps humans to mark the passage of time, to reconnect with what is good and holy and true in each of us and in one another, to travel the spectrum of human emotion and experience, as our ancestors and their ancestors have done for generations. And then there's the rest of the year, the daily turn of the earth, the routines of everyday living. In the Christian tradition, these periods between the major liturgical seasons are known as ordinary time, the weeks when people carry on with the regular duties and rituals of work and family. The wise ones knew that there is a deep importance to this rhythm, that we need both the routine and the normalcy of ordinary time and the temporary suspension of routine and normalcy that the liturgical seasons bring. But what happens when that cycle is upended? When ordinary time is disrupted, maybe permanently? When every day is a constant barrage of hurricanes and wildflowers, of police killings and uprisings, of viruses and climate catastrophe, of repression and resistance. These are no ordinary times, beloveds. But our yearning persists. Perhaps not for ordinary time, with all the ways the status quo is brutal to so many among us, but for extraordinary time. A time when hope is plentiful, when justice is pervasive, when community is resilient, and when love governs us all. Our Unitarian Universalist faith compels us to be builders of extraordinary time, even in the midst of profoundly abnormal ones. Our faith compels us to claim our agency and take action, even as our broken systems strain to keep us passive. To affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every single one of our human siblings by refusing to accept brutality and repression. To lean in to our radical interdependence by working together, organizing our communities to be powerful and prophetic in the face of all the forces that would dehumanize and kill us. Right now, UU the Vote is working ceaselessly to build this kind of extraordinary time. Across the country, hundreds of our congregations are mobilizing volunteers in deep partnership with local and national partners. UUs have reached out to hundreds of thousands of voters with texts and postcards and calls, on track for 1 million before November. We have had deep conversations about the issues that are central to our deepest values. We are fighting voter suppression, mobilizing those who have been disenfranchised, registering neighbors who've never had the chance to make their voices heard. And we are also building power and resources and connections to face together whatever comes after November 3rd. So today, we are asking you to join with us in building this extraordinary time that we are all yearning for. And to mark this threshold year of 2020 and all the possibility and peril it represents, we are inviting every single Unitarian Universalist to help us move into the future, toward extraordinary time in November and beyond, by making a gift to UU the Vote. And since numbers are significant, we want to encourage you to consider a gift that honors the number 2020. Perhaps you are someone who could make a gift of $2,020, an amount that would fund 50,000 calls to voters in critical states. If this is you, now is the time for your generosity. Or maybe you're someone who could give $202 or $20.20 or some multiple of those numbers, helping us pay for fellowships and organizers and staff across the country who are coordinating our phone banks, working with state advocacy networks, building infrastructure of volunteers that's going to last us far beyond this election. Or maybe you, like so many among us, are suffering financially during this time, but maybe your gift of $2.02 can be a symbolic gesture that we are all one, that we are working together to build this extraordinary time. Together, friends, as Unitarian Universalists, we are doing extraordinary things in these abnormal and heartbreaking times. And there is so much more to do. Please, give as generously as you are able. For all we have received, and for all that we have found the courage to give, may we be truly thankful. Amen.
Did you?
Thank you so much, Cheryl and Barbara. As I was trained and brought up in Unitarian Universalism to do, I usually start out these reflections with some story from my own experience. Remember the old television show, The Lone Ranger? Yep, I watched that as a child. My grade school classes memorably played the cutting edge at the time Oregon Trail game on our classroom computers. And Little House on the Prairie was my favorite and cherished book series and television show. I still think of it often, like when I see my own daughters running down a high grassy field, as happened every week in the opening credits for the show. But after years of looking at my childhood set of Little House books on our daughter's bookcase, and even occasionally dipping into them and reading portions out loud to her very selectively in an attempt to get her interested, I have put them away into a box in the attic. I don't want to carry forward those stereotypes into another generation. I don't want to center those hurtful narratives about Native American people, especially, anymore. This morning, I don't want to review and reemphasize the stereotypes of Native Americans that I grew up with, and probably many of you as well. Shifting in my approach to speaking to you and away from my own stories this morning is similar to the kind of moving back and looking upon things with new perspective that is so much of what I've felt myself being challenged to do at every turn while preparing even just this short reflection on centering Indigenous voices and wisdom. Take the encouragement of Chris Newman, for example. Chris Newman quit his job as a software engineer in the IT world to start Silvanaqua Farms outside of Washington, D.C., near where his Piscataway ancestors once managed acres of corn and fish along the Potomac River. Right off the top, Chris shifts the way he is labeled, away from farmer. We mostly consider ourselves land protectors and water protectors who happen to grow food, he says. Chris also invites us, all of us, to shift our way of thinking about food. He laughs when asked, "What should people eat?" and says, "I don't think too hard about what people should be eating. That's a settler colonial mindset. People are always lunging at, what do I buy to solve my problem? Conscientious consumer solutions offer the illusion of control, a poor substitute for addressing much deeper and much more complicated problems around how our society is architected and how we as members of this society interact with each other and the world around us. Chris also models shifting away from the idea of rootedness and land ownership, away from the rigid notion of staying in one place, settling down, and farming one piece of land over and over and over. He challenges common notions, even as seemingly simple as what a farm looks like. In firsthand accounts, people like early 17th century Englishman John Smith, when describing this continent, described an Edenic paradise created by God, but they didn't understand that the area was a large-scale food forest cultivated by Indigenous people. They didn't realize what they were standing in, Newman teaches us. They didn't realize that they were basically on a farm. It just didn't look anything like they would think of as a food-producing landscape. What Chris Newman's Silvanaqua Farm might include in central Virginia's ecosystem is a herd of pigs that will eventually be harvested for meat. And in the meantime, they're rooting around among chestnut and hazelnut trees, tilling the soil and eating windfall apples that would otherwise be wasted. Animals and plants become symbiotic in a way that mimics natural systems. From the microcosm of the way we think about food and farming to the macrocosm of our relationships with this planet, everyone is impacted by racism and classism and homophobia, by inequality, and by the slowly eroding democratic norms in the United States, so evident in our country right now. And still, shared Newman back in August of this year, there are glimmers of hope right now that are more encouraging than anything I've seen in my lifetime. I have listened to this interview with Chris Newman over and over again, and we'll share the link to it in the chat after this reflection. Our Unitarian Universalist journey of lifelong learning includes our third principle, encouragement to spiritual growth, and our sixth source, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred cycle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. There are so many ways in which what the majority white, well-meaning folk among us need to do as we continue in this journey is not to control, lead, impact, or even do anything more, but to instead reel back our narrow frameworks, zoom out, and allow expansiveness for more voices, more wisdom, more ways of thinking and perceiving and interacting with this world to have an impact on us, to change us, rather than the other way around. White people and people with preconceived ideas about what needs to be rectified, coming in and changing the whole landscape of things. That tragedy has been playing out here on this continent for hundreds of years. I have been savoring, whenever possible this past full week, the writings and thoughts compiled in this gorgeous anthology, Dawnland Voices, an anthology of Indigenous writing from New England. I commend it to you. It's a tome, and there's just so many wonderful voices and thoughts and perspectives compiled within it. And here too, I've been challenged to zoom out. The current reality of state and national lines, even the definition of New England, does not accurately encompass or honor all of the Indigenous peoples and communities that have existed here for millennia and continue to be here. Whole chapters in this book lift up the voices of Micmac and Abenaki Native writers and challenge the very shape of New England by showing how these tribal nations pre-existed and continue to traverse state and national borders. Tomorrow, here in West Hartford at least, our grade schooler doesn't have school because it's Indigenous Peoples Day. I love that, just like me moving on from my little house on the prairie childhood stereotypes, we can now in many places across the country move on from debating whether or not the Christopher Columbus should still have his day and focus instead on the long overlooked and in fact aggressively suppressed wisdom, languages, and real lives of Indigenous people. I challenge you to take some time today and tomorrow to read up on people mentioned in the children's story today whose names you didn't recognize. Or put Native voices or Indigenous into your library's search engine and see what books come up that you haven't read before or even knew were there. See this zooming out and widening your gaze as yet another call of this Unitarian Universalist faith. Because it is. Even in my perennial curating of our household's children's books, I've found new stories that center the lives and experiences of Indigenous children during and before the years when white people encroached on their land. Louise Erdrich's Birch Bark series is now what sits on our daughter's shelf. Even though she hasn't yet been interested, I have enjoyed reading them myself and I keep offering them to her. This might be a wonderful addition to your extended family's bookshelves. I know I'm loving letting these new to me characters and stories and perspectives and ways of living fill my mind. In the June 2020 Widening the Circle of Concern report of the UUA Commission on Institutional Change, it is written, in spite of the promise of our movement, we still need to address the bias and oppression within our systems to build resilience in our living tradition for the times we are in and strengthen it for future generations. If we are committed to this work as central to our faith, we will create the conditions in which all who are attracted to the theological premises of our faith can thrive. This form of creative, faithful engagement is joyous when it is done in a spirit of aspiration to deepen our spiritual commitments. This form of creative, faithful engagement is joyous when it is done in a spirit of aspiration to deepen our spiritual commitments. I wrestle with deepening my understanding, with pausing and taking the time to listen better, with shifting the whole framework of how I've thought about something as basic as what I eat, for example, or not worrying so much about what I eat and thinking about the larger implications of all our collective choices. I wrestle with all these things along with you. It requires so much constant recommitment, re-invitation, and patience. But my hope is that we can all work to bring one another along on this great turning. I do believe we shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires, this community connecting us right now. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change from deep within the earth. What a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. May it be so.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vines. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Join me in a breath of silence now, and then we will all sing together with Cheryl and Barbara, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, and a spirit of
Let us each now safely extinguish our candles or chalices and join with me with our words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Please join me in hymn number 1017, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, free from hate and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Every day, we recommit ourselves to building a new way. We reapproach the lifelong effort to free ourselves from the prejudices and narrow focus we may have been raised up in, and to expand our minds and open our hearts. There are 7,800,000,000 human beings on this shared planet, and each has a story to tell, pain, and hope in their hearts. May you find ways to hear more of those stories today and every day. Following the postlude and fellowship time, go in peace out into this resplendent world.
Now we'll move into our post-service breakout groups. The primary purpose of the breakout groups is to allow for deeper check-in with each other. If there's someone in your breakout group who you don't know, please use this opportunity to get to know each other better. There is or will be a slide posted